Live from our studios on Karaba Avenue, this is the QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Karaba Avenue, and I am Julden Yai. Thank you for watching us, and here are the main news headlines. On Friday, the Gambia welcomed the first flight of the 2024-2025 tourism season with 175 tourists on board, a Gambia Experience flight from the United Kingdom. The First Lady of the Gambia, Fatoumata Barrow, officiated at the closing ceremony of a 3-day leadership training attended by over 100 women on Friday. A family in Jara Fonkoy Kunda village in the Lower River region has been left homeless following a heavy thunderstorm that demolished the entire compound. In international news, in commemoration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction and partners are calling on countries to harness the education sector to reduce the disaster risk of school-age children. In sports news, the Gambia drew 1-1 with Madagascar in round 3 of the group matches in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in a match played in Morocco. These and other stories coming ahead. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, this is QTV News. Now, a vibrant celebration of culture and hospitality was the ideal way of the Gambia Tourism Board which welcomed the first flight of the 2024-2025 tourism season at the Banjul International Airport. It brought with it 175 tourists from the United Kingdom. Here is Usman Jata with the story.
The arrival of the Gambia Experience and the flight from the Gatwick International Airport in London officially opens the 2024-2025 tourism season with an estimated number of over 200,000 tourist arrivals from the Scandinavian and European countries.
These UK tourists are greeted by the pulsating drumbeats of traditional drummers accompanied by traditional music and vibrant performances showcasing the country's rich and diverse cultural heritage. The incoming flight brought with it 175 tourists comprising newcomers and repeat visitors. Welcoming the tourists, the British High Commissioner to the Gambia, Harriet King, expressed delight at witnessing the first 2024 tourist flight arrival.
The Gambia Experience is a really close partner of ours, as is the Gambia Tourism Board and the Ministry of Tourism, and we are working as much as we can to support the growth of tourism. I believe passionately that the Gambia has so much potential in the field of tourism and ecotourism in particular.
At the airport entrance, locals and tour operators receive and introduce visitors to the diverse range of activities available in the country.
From the airport, most tourists are heading straight to their hotels in the tourism development area. As you could see, most of them moving around, carrying their bags, heading straight to their hotels. Keeps you coming to the Gambia?
Fishing. And the Gambian people. Fantastic.
What's your name?
Mr. Lum?
Is this your first time coming to the Gambia?
No,
What keeps you coming back to Gambia?
my friend's here.
I've heard wonderful things about it, the history. I wanted to come and check out.
So you coming to the Gambia?
It's only 2 times now. I met this lovely young lady here and she's showed me what Gambia is all about.
In the coming weeks and months, these tourists will explore the beautiful sandy beaches, wildlife, and most importantly, get exposed to sunshine. Tourism and Culture Minister Abdullah Job was also present at the airport.
There's a lot of work that has been done this year in terms of preparing for the season, in terms of promoting the destination. As you may be well aware, this year we're expecting the re-entry of the Scandinavian market.
Commissioner Abdujan is Deputy Head of Security in the Tourism Development Area, and Bach Sambafai is Chairman of the Gambia Tourism Board governing body.
We are well prepared for this year's tourism, and we promise the Gambian people and the tourists in general that the Gambia is going to be a safe haven for everybody.
Nobody deprives anybody from using the beach, as long as you are behaving and welcoming our guests in a very amicable manner.
As the 2024 tourism season officially kicks off, the Gambia Tourism Board and local stakeholders are optimistic about the future. With a focus on sustainability and cultural immersion, this season promises to be one of the most memorable as it welcomes travelers to experience the true essence of the Gambia. Osman Chata, reporting for QTV News.
We welcome them to the Smiling Coast. Now, on Friday, the First Lady of the Gambia, Fatoumata Bah officiated at the closing ceremony of a 3-day leadership training attended by over 100 women, which focused on enhancing their roles in decision-making. Lolly M. Kamara tells us more.
The training, which began on Wednesday, was organized by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare in partnership with the Ma Foundation for Women, with support from the United Nations Development Programme. In the Gambia, as in many countries, women continue to be underrepresented in decision-making roles. This continues to be the case in the Gambia, where women hold 3 elected seats in the National Assembly, which is approximately 5.1% of the total seats. However, there may be signs of improvement at the local level, which is evident in the 2023 council elections, where women gained about 11.5% of the seats. Local advocacy groups like the Ma Foundation are dedicated to empowering women and enhancing their participation in politics and leadership. Fatoumata Jawara Dukure, the CEO and founder of the Ma Foundation for Women, emphasizes that their involvement in the event reflects the government's commitment to advancing the role of Gambian women.
I want to appreciate the efforts of the government of the Republic of Gambia for creating a very conducive and enabling environment for events like this and beyond being hosted in the beloved country, Gambia. Thank you all for being part of this incredible journey.
Speaking on behalf of the participants, Fatoumata Jabi Gassama noted that the sessions were highly interactive and thanked the Ma Foundation and partners for organizing the event. The government of the Gambia is actively working to introduce gender-sensitive policies aimed at enhancing women's political representation and participation in decision-making. Here is the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Fatou Kinte.
Because we know very well that women from the population of the Gambia, 51%, but at the time it was 52%. And at the time, women formed 56% of the registered voters. So we couldn't understand why we have very few women elected to the National Assembly and also to the area councils. So we had a breakfast meeting and did a diagnostic discussion of the issues, which led to this project, which is benefiting us today by training women in leadership skills in decision-making.
In her closing remarks, Fatoumata Bah, the First Lady of the Gambia, urged participants to apply the knowledge acquired from the training to enhance their communities.
I encourage each of you to take the knowledge and tools you have gained here and apply them in your communities, organizations, and countries. Leadership is not just about occupying a position of power, but about being a voice for the voiceless, a force for justice. I wish to congratulate you all and thank UNDP and Ma Foundation for a meaningful endeavors for the advancement of women in the Gambia.
Certificates were awarded to participants at the conclusion of the training, symbolizing the start of their journey as empowered leaders in their communities. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
Now, on Saturday, the National Public Health Laboratory, in partnership with the Global Fund, launched a new sample referral network aimed at enhancing access to laboratory services throughout the country. Let's have more details of that in this report by Mam Nabuka.
The Gambia is among the first countries in West Africa selected to pilot the sample referral network, with project mapping starting as early as 2015. Now established by the Ministry of Health with financial and technical support from the Global Fund, the sample referral network aims to ensure the safe and timely transportation and testing of laboratory samples. Bakari Sane, A lab scientist and deputy director of the National Public Health Laboratory provides an in-depth look at the components of the sample referral network.
The sample referral is here to increase access to quality, reliable diagnostics. Now, when you are in Basse and you want a test to be done in Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, like for the histopathology, you need not to travel. Now, your sample only needs to move, and then the results will be communicated back to you.
Baba Jame, coordinator of the National AIDS Secretariat, emphasizes that the sample referral network will encompass a range of sample types.
The SRN is looking at all this. It is not saying HIV, we are looking at, initially, as a program, the HIV, they were looking at our samples. TB are looking at their samples. Malaria, all the programs are looking at as a parallel program. But we say, no, let us do it together. This is going to save us a lot of cost. Now, doing it together, the samples that you are bringing, you are not saying we are bringing only HIV samples. We are not saying every sample that is there is going to be transported. It's going to be on the level.
The sample referral network focuses on 3 key pillars: accuracy, reliability, and timeliness. Sherifo Jany, director of the National Public Health Laboratory, outlines the objective the network aims to achieve.
This is our aim, and these are our objectives that we operate on. That is, to collect all samples on timely, to give our results on timely, and to make sure that the samples that are transported, they are monitored from the point that they are transported to the point where they are received, so that we get that reliability of the samples moving from one facility to the other. And then the conditions of the samples so that they are improved, so that we get accurate results from the tests that we perform.
Looking ahead, the sample referral network plans to facilitate the transportation of human, animal, and environmental samples, with hopes to implement this aspect in the future as part of their ongoing project. Reporting for QTV News, I am Mam Nabuka.
The report there by Mam Nabuka will take us to a commercial break. When we return, we have more local, international, and sports news stories for you. To stay tuned.
Q Money and Orange Money has just made money transfer easier. Now you can send money from Gambia to Senegal directly from your Q Money wallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your Q Money account now and start sending money to your friends and families through Orange Money in Senegal now. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q Money, Sunu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel-Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. The Bertel-Harding Highway is transforming transportation in the Gambia with new roundabouts and vehicular overpasses. But safety must come first. Standing along the road or at roundabouts to flag down taxis creates unsafe conditions and unnecessary traffic jams. Remember, always board taxis at designated taxi garages or the garas located at major traffic points. Drivers stopping in no stopping zones will be penalized. Let's keep our roads clear and safe. Together, we can ensure a safe and efficient journey for all.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News, and now to the rest of our stories. A family in Jara Fonkoy Kunda village in the Lower River region has been left homeless following a heavy thunderstorm that demolished the entire compound. Our regional correspondent Bakari Balde visited the village and he now reports.
Musa Yero Jallo, the compound head, recounts what happened Despite there being no casualties, most of their belongings were destroyed. He tells us how this has affected the family.
Last Saturday, a heavy wind destroyed my entire compound and we are left with nothing, but thanks to God that there were no casualties. I need support because I was staying with 3 wives and children, and currently we are occupying neighbors' houses because at this moment we cannot reconstruct a new house. Had it been that it was partially demolished, we could have managed it, but in this condition, nothing can be done.
Adamaba, Musa's wife, echoed her husband's worries. Musa Jallo, a family member, said they responded very quickly to evacuate their brother's family to a safer place. He also appeals for assistance.
I am appealing for assistance from anyone who can help in whatever way, as my finances are low. Whoever can help me with materials or construct a house, I would really appreciate it.
As the compound is completely destroyed, Musa and his family cannot rely forever on the neighbors hosting them in different houses and would appreciate support from the government, local authorities, and any donors to get the family to a situation where they can return to living happily together again. Bakari Balde, QTV News.
Our thoughts and prayers are with them during these trying times. Up next is international news. Now, in commemoration of the 35th edition of International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction and partners are calling on countries to harness the education sector to reduce the disaster risk of school-age children, especially by investing in protecting and empowering children through safe schools. Let's have more details of that in this report. The International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction started in 1989 after a call by the United Nations General Assembly for a day to promote a global culture of risk awareness and disaster reduction. However, 35 years down the line, increasing disasters, many of them driven and exacerbated by climate change, threaten the well-being of people and displaced millions of people worldwide. According to UNICEF, approximately 1 billion children worldwide are at extremely high risk due to climate impacts, including climate-related disasters. In 2022, the number of children affected by flooding in Chad, Gambia, Pakistan, and Bangladesh was the highest in over 30 years. It is no surprise that the Gambia is among the list of countries most affected by floods. The country is highly prone to disasters, particularly floods. Climate change-driven global warming is increasing sea and river levels. Desertification and drought in Gambia's border regions are driving displacement towards the low-lying urban areas of Greater Banjul, and the capital Banjul is at sea level and prone to flooding. Unregulated settlement is taking place in flood-prone areas and encroaching on canals and drainage systems. The National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA, in its 2022 situational report, confirmed the death of at least 11 people in the wake of the July 30th flash floods. The report also indicates that over 37,000 people were directly affected by the devastating floods across the country. Also, the floods that hit the Gambia on the 30th and 31st of July, and again on the 4th and 5th of August 2023, caused injuries and widespread damage to homes and properties, particularly in the Greater Banjul, but also in the North, Central, and Upper River region. Official figures show that 50,300 people were affected and 7,400 displaced. Just last week, a 2-year-old child tragically lost his life when a house collapsed due to heavy rains that caused flooding and weakened the structure of the building in Farafenni in the North Bank region. To protect children from disasters, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction says countries must consider their vulnerabilities and needs when designing national and local disaster risk reduction strategies. It is equally important that children and youths be empowered and provided the space and modalities to contribute to disaster risk reduction, as called for in the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015-2030. This also aligns with the calls to action of the political declaration of the midterm review of the Sendai Framework, which called for the full, equal, meaningful, and inclusive participation of youths and the promotion of a culture of disaster prevention. For QTV News, I am Julde Njai. Now, the African Union designated 2024 as the Year of Education. In connection with this, African Skills Week 2024 is set to take place from October 14th to 18th in Accra, Ghana, convened by the African Union Commission under the theme Skills and Jobs for the 21st Century, Quality Skills Development for Sustainable Employability in Africa. Let's have more details of that in this report by Aliou Cissé.
Technical and vocational education and training (TVET) is a critical driver for national development and a strategy to combat youth unemployment. Quality and impactful education is one of the priorities of the African Union Agenda 2063, which is reflected in the respective government's education policies and strategies. In the Gambia, in times past, only a few had access to higher education. However, through the Gambia National Qualifications Framework, the education system now provides pathways that allow students to choose career in the technical vocational education and training and other educational programs. Expanding such opportunities made it necessary to establish a University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology in Brikama, which is under construction and hope to be opened by the end of this year. This is in addition to another vocational training center in Damban, where students are granted scholarships. The government also plans to construct more in other regions. Key activities planned for this year's African Skills Week include policy dialogues, skills exhibitions, and a youth summit. High-level participants are expected, including education ministers from African Union member states and representatives from international organizations such as UNESCO and the International Labour Organization. The outcomes from these discussions are expected to guide the African continent in advancing the development of skills education that meet the needs and aspirations of Africans. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
Next, we have sports news. Now, the Gambia drew 1-1 with Madagascar in round 3 of the group matches in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in a match played in Morocco. Our sports reporter Momodu Gajaga watched it, and this is his report.
The Gambia needed a late goal from Yankuba Minte in the 7th minute of added-on time to rescue a point against Madagascar in a game they dominated on terms of possession, with 67% of possession to Madagascar's 33% and 24 shots to Madagascar's 7. Despite this, it was the Malagasy who took the lead through Clément Couturier and the first half added on time. Madagascar were edging close to a win even after Yankuba Minte's late equalizer, only to have what would have surely been the winner disallowed for handball after a VAR check. The two teams face each other again on Monday for what will be yet another home game away from home for the Gambia. Today's match leaves both teams on 2 points in Group A. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
This is all we have time for, but before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. On Friday, the Gambia welcomed the first flight of the 2024-2025 tourism season with 175 tourists on board the Gambia Experience flight from the United Kingdom. The First Lady of the Gambia, Fatoumata Bah Barrow, officiated at the closing ceremony of a 3-day leadership training attended by over 100 women on Friday. A family in Jara Fonkoy Kunda village in the Lower River region has been left homeless following a heavy thunderstorm that demolished the entire compound. In international news, in commemoration of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction and partners are calling on countries to harness the education sector to reduce the disaster risk of school-age children. In sports news, the Gambia drew 1-1 with Madagascar